Welcome everyone to Obscurities and Miniatures, and I need to tell you, adventure is real, in case you didn't know that. Adventure is real. So anyway, I'm looking at one of these new Dungeons and Lasers sample sprues that Archon gave me. I was going to say Protoss, but no, this is with the Archon label. So we are going to take a look at this. This is for their new Kickstarter that they got going on, showing off varied themes, customizable bits. Nice 25mm grid on there, compatible with all major gaming scales and companions. So, what does all that mean for the average person? So what we've got here is a sample sprue that's showing off some of the various types of terrains that they are making in plastic. So this is all hardcore, good old, let's use some Tester's model glue type plastic if that's your thing, or plastic cement I should say. On our sprue, we've got one of the sample animal companions. We've got some of the sample floors and walls, along with some of the smaller decorative wall bits as well. And I want to say those are actually double-sided, so you can see it's got like the rune markings here. We've got more of an industrial look here, and we've got the alien-infested, Geiger-esque looking xenomorph-style walls, if that's something you're going to need. So this is a little bit different than the Rampart terrain that Archon has also made, that hopefully is going to be trickling out onto the aftermarket soon, other than just Kickstarter backers. Sadly, I backed that for the kind of Kazumi Temple, Aztec, Mayan-looking ruins, and those are part of Wave 2, so we'll keep our fingers crossed we get that soon. So anyway, I'm going to cut these out, and let's take a look at how this stuff looks, and we'll grab some other pieces of terrain, see how that compares, and we'll see how it fits some of the figures we got laying around. Let's take a closer look. Alright, so we got everything off the sprues, and I gotta say it was a little tough getting these pieces off, and they had huge chunks of plastic to hold them in. So if you have really delicate clippers, be careful with them. If you have like some hardcore industrial strength ones, like I have like these old school jewelry bender clipper things, and I mean they'll just tear through any kind of plastic, so they did great. You know, my fancy delicate ones for, you know, trimming mirror stuff and things like that, you ain't gonna touch it with that. All right, I'm gonna do a total dry run here and trying to put this stuff together, because I figure if I had it all pre-done, you'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. So I'm gonna take a look at these. Let's see, cut out pieces from the sprue, put that glue away, you won't need it. Okay, if you tell me that. Connect the floor tiles using special push-fit elements. After that, attach floors to the walls. Feel free to use archway. Assemble Geralt. Ang, go explore. Okay, the educator in me will let that go. English isn't their first language. So I guess our little doggy friend is push fit as well. Be careful, because I'm pretty sure I cut some of those little plugs off on his feet. They were right at the connector, which I don't think was the best spot, but you know, it is what it is. And this was a practice preview sprue as it was, so we'll see how that goes. So that looks like a floor because it's got the little thingies, and I guess, oh, this is kind of like the Dead Zone stuff. So we put that in to attach it. So you're my other floor piece here. So on the back side, it shows us the various different styles. So what is this one in my hand right here? I'm rubbing. And this is number one. This is their basic fantasy half floor. Okay. Doesn't look very sci-fi, but okay. Whatever. And then this side is obviously going to be, this is the torture chamber floor, and then this is their Xenogenesis floor. And then we have the Xenogenesis wall, and then the torture chamber walls as well. Over here we have, what is this? This is the 3. This is the basic fantasy wall, very basic, and then the basic sci-fi wall. This is the engine room archway, and then this is what the Hall of Fame archway is going to look like, which is kind of like their dwarven set. So, okay, do these have to attach anywhere? I guess they do. So, okay. So see this little slot right here? I was wondering why everything seemed kind of wobbly. What's going to happen is somehow this is all going to jam in there. Now that might be an issue if you paint everything. It's a tight fit. Reminds me of the doorways like in Warhammer Quest or Darklight Memento Mori. So, this thing is actually not going to sit on the ground then. It's going to actually be raised off of the table. However, because of these clips, everything is going to be, seems pretty flush. I'm not sure what those other two clips are for, though. Because this is just going to slide in like that. I guess... No, we don't have anything to do the ceilings. I don't see any ceiling attachment points on these either. I'm curious how that's going to work out, so... I wonder if there's going to be special connections, because I know they certainly showed off having stuff on different floors. I'm not sure how those are connecting together. So, I don't know. Each of these squares seems to be a 2 by 2 inch square, using some of the actual models that Archon has made so far. That's going to be kind of an issue in terms of size. Now, obviously, these are more of their epic-sized models. If you're going to get more into their basic stuff, like one of the monsters here from Vanguard of War, it's a little bit less of an issue. Then again, if you're not going to be using a lot of ceiling tiles, I don't think that will be as much of a problem. I'm curious how tight that corridor is when you have everything enclosed. So, about as I suspected, it's going to get really cramped if you have walls all the way down. So if you don't have walls on every side or in only certain spots, that might not be as much of an issue. But I can definitely see it getting kind of cramped if you have too many models all in one place. You're also going to want to make sure that things have a reasonable base size, I think, going down those tight corridors, because like something like, yeah, from he's just not going to fit at all. Maybe some of the other princes, possibly. A good old GW Marine, I don't think is going to have much of an issue. So if you wanted to do like some kind of a Space Hulk type scenario with this stuff, I think it's going to work out great. Any kind of typical dungeon exploring, I think you're going to run into issues in terms of getting figures in the hallway. Because especially if you're playing something where marching order is going to be a major component, I think, you know, the tightness is going to be an issue there. And we haven't even touched on our doggy friend yet. I haven't even put him together. So I'm assuming he's just going to snap together like so. Let's see if I can get him zoomed in there. Obviously, I need to clean it off better, as I'm just doing this on a dry run here. Will it even go together for me? It seems like the tail is just going to plug in. Oh, I have his tail upside down. Silly me. Where's your head, Geralt? And then finally, he's got his tasty treat inside his muzzle there. So actually, I gotta say, for the most part, everything slots in pretty well. Obviously, the head is not cooperating as nicely as it should be, and that's mostly because I didn't finish the body off nicely either. Detail's pretty decent. I mean, I can see it through the lens here as I'm looking at it filming. You can definitely make out the details. Seems a bit sharper than their trial run Necromancer. Ignore my woefully inadequate paint job, but this was the first plastic sprue that Archon put out. And I gotta say, this one feels a little bit nicer. And I like the fact that you literally can put it together without any glue. So if you're not into the hardcore modeling aspect, you know, that's good for you. I do also appreciate the fact that he's got a custom base, and I just now realized he's got his little paws all on there. I was wondering where they were. So, pretty impressed that the companions are all going to be push fit. Obviously, I need to clean him up a bit so he actually is completely attached. I have not done that yet. so bear with me there. But overall, I'm actually kind of more excited about the companions than I am the tiles at the moment. I think the tiles, this is just, you know, a quick preview. I really want to see how this stuff is going to work out. I think if you're going to be doing a, you know, traditional layout, tile laying type setup like this, I think it's going to work out pretty nice. Especially if you have board gaming size models that would actually be able to stand next to each other. But again, when you have the walls on there, it's going to be more of an issue, I think. So I don't know if they're going to have thicker floors. I'm pretty sure everything is going to be at least this, you know, 1 by 1. But on the other hand, as I complained about that, you do have the option of expanding out, you know, in every possible direction. And depending upon how many pieces you get, I mean, you could really go crazy with this stuff. Looking at the layouts that they have on the Kickstarter page, I mean, they all seem doable. Again, my only real concern is going to be the tightness of the corridors and the bases of the models involved. Because if you're playing something where that's really particular, I can see that being a bit of an issue. If you're using it just more for an open-ended war game stuff, at this point, I'm still kind of leaning towards the Rampart terrain, just because I think for a war game where you're not going to be as confined to certain specific spots, it's a lot more flexible, and you're going to have a lot more options in terms of just building up and across versus having to have a specific floor layout. On the other hand, I think if Archon ends up throwing in enough walls and floor pieces, I think, you know what, you can probably go hog wild with this stuff and it would work just as effectively. So I think it's really going to depend on how many pieces are going to be in the final count and how much and how large and extensive of dungeon you're looking to build. Because, I mean, honestly, that's really what this stuff is for, hence the name, Dungeons and Lasers, obviously. And going back and looking at this, I mean, you know, if every one of these is like a 1-inch square, well, if you got plenty of pieces on there, then I think you're going to be good to go, especially if you have multiple tiles. So that's my takeaway from this. I think if you have plenty of tiles to build a nice wide open floor, you're going to be good to go. If you have a really tight corridor, like looking at these samples, that might be more of an issue. But then again, looking at these are all like 2 by 2 tiles, so that's like, what, about 4 inches wide? I guess it would work. So I'm going to probably put in for at least a base pledge. I'm curious about it, and I'm always in the mood for plastic durable terrain. The only other thing, like I said, I'm concerned about is the fact of having to slot these in manually every time. I don't know any other way to do it. It's not like they can be automated or anything. Am I trying to slot these in correctly? What am I doing wrong here? I'm trying. I'm trying. So yeah, less clips involved than with the Mantic battle systems, which has its own advantages and disadvantages, but keeping everything together and depending upon how many floor spaces we have, that's going to be the big issue here. Also, we should point out these little plugs. From my understanding, there's nothing here yet on this sample sprue, but what's going to happen is they're going to have, you know, little odds and ends you can plug into the wall, torches, skeletons, you know, some kind of Xeno egg sac or something. I don't know. We'll let them decide that. But yeah, they should have a lot of stuff available there as well. So hopefully you found this somewhat informative, and hopefully this will help you to decide if you want to get some of this stuff to mess around with as well. With that said, this is High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures saying thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.